2019 was an eventful year for the agricultural sector in Nigeria, with the sector contributing 29.25% to the country's real gross domestic product (GDP) in the third quarter, compared to the figure of 22.78% in the second quarter. But the glowing successes of 2019 were only made possible because of 2015, when the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, unveiled a list of 41 items, now 43, for which importers could no longer access foreign exchange from the Nigerian foreign exchange market. The items on the not valid for forex list were considered as having a drain on the country's forex reserves. Since then, the CBN has recorded success after success in its effort to catalyze growth in the Nigerian economy through sector-specific intervention targeted at agriculture and manufacturing. According to the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, the local production of these commodities, which was also geared towards import substitution, has been sustained through intervention programs such as the Anchor Borrowers Program (ABP), the Commercial Agriculture Credit Scheme (CAS), the Bankers Committee Agribusiness Small and Medium Enterprises Investment Scheme, and recently introduced Commodity Development Initiative (CDI).
This renewed focus by the Central Bank of Nigeria to support improved growth in the agriculture and manufacturing sector in Nigeria is clearly in line with the federal government's determination, being stressed by President Muhammadu Buhari, to diversify the base of Nigeria's economy away from a reliance on crude oil, so as to insulate our economy from the vagaries and shocks associated with volatility in crude oil prices.
Through these programs, the CBN is effectively developing the value chains of 10 focal commodities, which are cassava, cocoa, cotton, fish, livestock and dairy, maize, oil palm, poultry, rice, and tomatoes. Under the CBN Anchor Borrowers Program (ABP), launched by President Muhammadu Buhari on November 15, 2015, the bank, as of January 2020, had disbursed the sum of 257.764 billion naira to 1,480,591 smallholder farmers cultivating 17 different commodities across the 36 states of the Federation, as well as the Federal Capital Territory (FCT). In addition to the ABP and other intervention initiatives, the CBN's Commodity Development Initiative (CDI) aims at boosting productivity through the provision of improved seedlings, improving access to local inputs, expanding credit to smallholder farmers and agro-processors and manufacturers, as well as ensuring guaranteed offtake. What prompted the new strategy?
One key objective of the CBN 5-year plan, 2019 to 2024, is to create 10 million jobs. And these 10 million jobs are derived from the national overarching objective of the federal government to create 100 million jobs in 10 years. Now, the CBN has chosen to create 10 million jobs in 5 years. And out of these 10 million jobs, we hope to arrive at 8 million jobs from the Commodity Development Initiative, which involves the 10 commodities. And for us, it is not just enough to fund the primary producers, maybe the farmers in this case. It is also important that those who pick up this harvest from their farm gates and those who process it are appropriately and sufficiently funded to be able to take off these commodities from the farmers. And then we'll fund all the other players from the farm that leads to the market. That is our objective in this, and we are geared towards achieving that.
The bank reasoned that developing the value chain of the 10 crops will enhance job creation. Specifically, it is targeted that the identified crops will generate a total of 8 million jobs between now and 2024, in line with the federal government's goal of 10 million jobs. It is also expected that fixing the value chains will reduce import bills and conversely improve Nigeria's annual non-oil export receipts from the 2018 figure of $2 billion to a new high of $12 billion by 2023. Echoing the words of President Buhari, the CBN Governor, Emefiele, has always stressed that Nigeria has no business importing crops that it has the capacity to produce. The governor has also been an advocate of the campaign of producing what we eat and eating what we produce.
The Central Bank of Nigeria will get even more aggressive to see to it that food, any or all food items that can be produced in Nigeria and consumed in Nigeria that are currently being imported into Nigeria, that we would go through our records, and as once we convince ourselves that these products can be produced in Nigeria, we'll place them on the FX restriction list. What does that mean? That you cannot source foreign exchange from the Nigerian foreign exchange market to import those items into Nigeria. This is because we think that the initiatives that Central Bank had put in place in the past to cut imports and diversify the structure of the Nigerian economy is yielding results, and we would continue to be that aggressive.
Working closely with key stakeholders in the rice value chain, the CBN sought to significantly decrease import bills and encourage rice production locally. A total of 36.033 billion naira was released to 256,711 farmers for the 2019 wet season to cultivate 315,954 hectares. A rice yield of 1.58 million metric tons is expected from that process. Meanwhile, of the total outstanding amount of 55,436,688,923 naira 30 kobo due, the sum of 28,108,835,277 naira 30 kobo has been repaid in cash, while 17,796.06 metric tons of paddy amounting to 1,957,567,370 naira has been collected so far as repayment in paddy. For the current 2019-2020 dry season farming, a total of 123,941 farmers from RIFAN, NECAS, and other private anchors have been identified and have also commenced the validation process in conjunction with the partnering banks.
Mechanization ranging from land preparation to harvest to threshing to even transportation. In fact, the market of his farm produce is now being brought to his farm gate. He doesn't need to take his farm produce today to the market. Under the Anchor Borrower program, everything has been prepared for that small farmer that has been suffering over time before the advent of Anchor Borrower program.
Like the rice sector, the cotton, textile and garment CTG industry also enjoyed a flurry of intervention activities in 2019. The objective was clear: catalyze the local farmers to produce 450,000 metric tons of cotton in 3 years, which at 40% conversion rate translates to 18,000 metric tons of yarn. In addition, the CBN and other stakeholders sought to increase cotton production from 80,000 to 200,000 metric tons in 2020, and increase the capacity of ginneries and textile sector industries in Nigeria to enable it attain self-sufficiency in cotton production in Nigeria by 2020. As a first step in fixing the cotton value chain, which begins with planting, the CBN, collaborating with some state governments, embarked on the distribution of improved cotton seeds to 151,220 members of the National Association of Cotton Farmers, cultivating over 100,000 hectares in 27 states of the Federation. A yield of 302,440 metric tons is expected from the process. The CBN facilitated the signing of Memoranda of Understanding (MOU) between uniformed services in Nigeria and textile and garment factories, who in turn offtake the cotton from ginneries financed by the bank.
We started it from the low end by funding cotton seeds and fertilizer and chemical. And I'm so happy that I've started seeing pictures of those cotton sprouting. So what does that mean? In another 5 months or 6 months, they will harvest the cotton. When they harvest the cotton, it will go to the ginneries. From the ginneries, to go to spinners. From spinners to the mills, and then it will go into the garment. So I want to appeal to all of us, please let's match make each other and let's create business opportunity and create jobs for our people.
Under this initiative, 13 ginning companies have been financed by the bank with about 24.9 billion naira to guarantee the full takeoff of the cotton produced by the farmers. The ultimate goal here is to enhance the capacity utilization of the ginneries from the current level of 15% to about 75%. The mobilization of cotton farmers has commenced for the 2020 farming season, with a target put at a minimum of 300,000 cotton farmers.
We're focusing on trying to mobilize as much smallholder farmers as possible, planning well for the season, planning with NIMED, planning with NITCOMSAT, planning with the ADBs, provide improved seedlings, working with the extension services, so that more smallholder farmers can take these loans and they can repay them. Yield has been very good with improved seedlings that we've given them.
Despite her status as the world's largest producer of cassava, Nigeria spends over $600 million annually on the importation of cassava derivatives such as starch, glucose, and sorbitol. Of the 53.0 million metric tons of cassava produced in Nigeria annually, more than 90% is processed into food for human consumption, whereas a significant industrial demand exists for the output of processed cassava, primarily as substitute for imported raw materials and semi-finished products. The CBN wooed cassava-producing states to key into the project of revamping the sector. Under the arrangement, which the Ogun State government has already embraced, the states are expected to clear large expanses of land for cassava cultivation, allocate land to unemployed youth and existing farmers, while the CBN provides funding for the project from its Accelerated Agricultural Development Scheme, AADS. The CBN is also holding consultations with the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, IITA Ibadan, and the National Root Crops Research Institute, Umudike, in order to facilitate improved varieties and practices that would guarantee better yield. In 2019, 15,569 cassava farmers were financed with the sum of 2,717,709,071 naira to cultivate over 15,000 hectares of land across 19 states under the Nigeria Cassava Growers Association. Similarly, the bank financed 8 processors with the sum of 11 billion naira to produce the various identified derivatives such as ethanol, starch, and sorbitol.
Cassava is currently the 4th most important food crop in the world after maize, wheat, and rice. Increasing cassava production is necessary as starch, glucose, sorbitol, and other products currently being imported proffers no future for the nation in the long term. We are determined to make sure that we grow the quantity of cassava that is produced in Nigeria so that its manufacturers who need those derivatives from cassava can easily source those raw materials to be able to produce their final products.
With the November 2019 CBN facilitated MOU signing between the Nigerian Cassava Growers Association and large-scale farmers, which was witnessed by governors of cassava-producing states and industry bigwigs like Nestle, Flour Mills, Promasidor, and Unilever, there is no doubt the narrative has changed for the better in that sector. In the 1950s and 1960s, Nigeria was the leader in the world oil palm market. From that enviable height of controlling about 40% of the world market, Nigeria slipped to the 5th position, barely producing 3% of the global supply of oil palm. The CBN intervened by bringing together governors of oil-producing states to get their buy-in and set a partnership model that would stimulate investments in the palm oil plantations, such that oil palm production will increase from 1,250,000 metric tons to 2,500,000 metric tons by 2023, and ultimately overtake Thailand and Colombia to become the 3rd largest producer over the next few years.
First, let me thank the Governor of the Central Bank for this very patriotic move with the initiative of trying to reenact or re-establish the palm oil industry in Nigeria. Edo State today has the largest oil palm estates in the country. About 70,000 hectares is currently under cultivation, and I pray that we can come up with a very clear execution plan so that we can grow our palm in this country and become as competitive as the Malaysians and the Indonesians.
Looking at the entire area, especially I'm speaking mainly for Akwa Ibom, in our own belt, you could see that almost 90% of the oil palm trees you see there are naturally grown. We have deliberate effort on the improved seedlings. We have close to 30,000 hectares that we're planting. We intend to do between 50 and 100. So with this incentive now, with the scheme that we're going to run now with this partnership, we believe we can actually take it above that 100, and then let's see what the output will be like.
At a meeting facilitated by the CBN, governors of oil palm producing states pledged to make available a total of 904,624 hectares for development. As at January 2020, a total of 30 billion naira has been disbursed to 7 oil palm companies to support their expansion programs, with the CBN expecting 40 applications from investors across Nigeria. Currently, the bank is working closely with the Nigerian Institute for Oil Palm Research, NIFOR, to enhance their seedling production capacity and standard. In 2017, the federal government launched the Tomato Policy Framework, which sought to reduce the about $170 million spent annually on importing 150,000 metric tons of tomato into Nigeria. In line with that objective, the CBN introduced the Commodity Champion model in the first quarter of 2019 to stimulate production of tomato and strengthen the end-to-end linkages in the value chain from input supplies to the final consumer. With about 140,848 farmers mobilized from across 25 states in Nigeria, the Anchor Borrowers Program ABP will link them to proximal processors where applicable, or finance them to produce fresh fruits for direct consumption, which constitutes the largest use of tomato in Nigeria. The CBN is also partnering with major actors in the tomato value chain, like Dangote Tomato Processing Limited, Sonia Foods, GB Foods, VeggieFresh Company Limited, and many others. In 2019, engagements with the Tomato Producing Association of Nigeria, TOPAN, and the Tomato Growers Association of Nigeria, TOGAN, and other stakeholder groups led to the identification of 183,908 smallholder tomato farmers to participate in the 2019-2020 dry season farming. It is expected that the period will yield about 7.4 million tons of tomato fruits. In part 2 of this series, we will bring you a detailed review of the CBN's effort at revamping the value chain in the 10 selected focal commodities.